Hello again, everyone, and welcome to this segment. I'm Martin Foss. We've been telling you for a long time about segmented break rocks, all kind of different things on this program. Well, today we're going to have the chairman, Gordon Dove, Louisiana Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority, and also Tony Alford, chair of the Governor's Advisory Commission on Coastal Protection, and also with the Levee District in Terrebonne Parish. We're going to talk a lot about the projects that they're working on that include the entire state, not just Terrebonne, Lafourche in this area. So let's jump into that conversation right now with both of these gentlemen. All right, I want to start with the chairman, Mr. Dove. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us, Martin.
All right, this is massive, all the projects with the new plan, the coastal plan. Can you give us an overview and sort of walk us through it? We'll get into land bridges and all, but just give me your overall view at this point.
Well, you know, Martin, when we terminated the mid-Barataria diversion, we ended up picking up $2.3 billion with a B. And, of course, that is to be spread among a number of projects, and a lot of them is a large portion of them are the land bridges and barrier islands and land bridges, into the east of the river also. And so with that, the first slide has all your, these are your major projects, and it's got more projects in this, but these are the major ones. By terminating the diversion, which, as you know, and everyone is coming to realize it was an experiment that did not work, and it ran over $3.1 billion with only $2.8 billion left in money from BP, and of course it was climbing. They had so many different problems that it was climbing to hundreds and hundreds of $1 million more. So the good thing about it is that is no longer a project, and we're moving forward with quite a number of projects in a number of parishes.
I think it's okay to state that you two guys are mainly Terrebonne Parish people, but the governor has made it quite clear that in your new roles, you got to take care of everybody.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because this is not just a Terrebonne Parish situation. A lot of people involved, right?
Yeah, a lot of people involved. And you're right. He made it quite clear that we had better, put projects across the coast, and all the way from Cameron through St. Tammany. We've got projects going along all along the coast. The land bridge that Gordy's fixing to speak of covers 100 miles of a 300-mile coast. You're losing about a football field every 30 minutes right now. And, the project that was canceled, you were talking about in 50 years, maybe putting together, they said 13,000 acres. But when you start doing the math and you calculate you wouldn't be able to operate it, maybe 10 or 15,000 CFS, you got a couple thousand acres. This project, when you put it on the ground, is going to cover 26,000 acres is what you're going to build in a matter of 6 to 10 years or so. Not counting the 433,000 acres that you're going to impact, that you're going to save. Those football fields that keep falling apart every 30 minutes.
Yeah, it used to be a football field back in '85 every day. Now it's changed. That parameter changes.
Yes.
Quite a bit. Let me ask you, Mr. Dove, when we talk about, they talked about a 50-year program before. We'd have never got there. We'd have run out of money, right?
Right. Well, Martin, what we're doing now is what I was in favor of doing 13 years ago. Everything we're doing is on the state's master plan through scientific, sound engineering, and it is on the state's master plan. And, the reason we're where we at today, I want to thank Governor Jeff Landry with his initiative to have us look into what's going on with the mid-Barataria diversion, the fiscal responsibility behind them, not trying to build something you cannot afford. And of course, his exact words is he is not going to destroy the culture of Louisiana's fishing industry and Louisiana. And, along with that, that's not his. Glenn Leday was a major part of getting this done where we at today on behalf of CPRA. And now I'm working with the new executive director who just came on board, Mike Harris, doing a wonderful job.
So where are we now? Where's the process? Where's the progress? And how excited are you about the land bridges and different things of that nature? Take us through that.
Martin, the land bridges in Plaquemines, Jefferson, Lafourche, and Terrebonne, and Mid-Breton and Chandeleur, which I'll show a slide on that just to show it on the east side of the river, will save South Louisiana. This should have been done a decade ago, and we're moving forward with it today thanks to Governor Jeff Landry's initiative, and he's been on top of every step of the way as we progressed.
That's a bold statement. It will save South Louisiana. So what is that based off? Give me your knowledge on that, because you've been involved in that for quite a long time.
More than the land bridge, it's going to be around 2,000 feet wide. We're going to try to get it to 2,400 feet wide. Mm-hmm. It'll be approximately 3.5 feet, but we're aiming at the center line being 5.5 feet above sea level. What it basically does, it slows the migration of fresh waters to the south, and it retains it, and it stops high salinity salt water moving north. Now, you still have your openings where your canals are and your different streams and all, bayou streams, canals. Mm-hmm. So those are, now they'll be rocked on both sides to make sure they don't wear, but you hold back thousands of acres of migration of high salinity water north. And like Tony said earlier, you actually, between Plaquemines, Jefferson, Lafourche, and Terrebonne, you are protecting and benefiting 433,000 acres. That is the engineer's report. That is not mine. Mm-hmm. That was given to me by the engineers. That before, you were going to be lucky to save a few thousand acres over 50 years. Mm-hmm. Diversions are not the way to go to save Louisiana. We plan on having as many as 8-10 dredges on these projects, and as and we're going to get into it. The Terrebonne Levee District under Tony Alford will be in charge and actually implementing from west of the Homer Nav all the way to Golden Meadow Land Bridge, which will come under Tony and them, and the rest of the land bridges come under, naturally, both of us being on CPRA.
Haven't we seen these chain of events, these land bridges that y'all going to artificially make now? We've had that at Terrebonne for a long time, but without the rocks and they eroded. Really, aren't we just mimicking what nature tried to provide anyway?
Yeah, Mo, and I always bring back to the Bichon Land Bridge. It was built 25 years ago. We've looked at doing repairs on it here recently. It's $4 million worth of repairs. After 25 years, and I've got friends that fish out there, and to the north, they're catching bass and sac-a-lait. I mean, so and if you look at western Terrebonne Parish, it is very, very pristine. I mean, it's really helped, and it's stayed alive. And the Bichon Land Bridge was done by Quipper, the Bro Act money, 25 years ago, and it's been highly successful.
Tony, let me turn to you, because like the Angela Hidalgos and Terrebonne, and we're looking at everyone along the coastline that has to adhere to the plan and buy into the plan. How much meetings have taken place? And I'm sure it's a big educational process, isn't it? It
is. We've really just started getting after that for the land bridge. We've always talked about the Barrier Islands. We had to try to save the Barrier Islands, which Gordy has included and the board's included in this to put those breakwater rocks and maybe choke down the passes in addition to the land bridges. So I think what's important and what's great is to use the local sponsors. The local sponsors are going to really get after it, of course, with oversight from CPRA, and try to protect their areas. So all the way from Plaquemine, Jefferson, Lafourche, Terrebonne, those local sponsors are going to be pushing this along with the engineers, but also having meetings together to make sure everybody's on the same page and pushing this project forward.
And Mr. Dove, let me ask you this, and with this work comes an economic impact. A lot of companies are helping restore the coastline. So this is sort of twofold. Protect the land, but it's pumping billions of dollars into the economy of the state of Louisiana, at least in the coastal sectors, which I'm sure spreads everywhere else.
Right, and Tony said the local sponsors. So yeah, South Lafourche, Keith Guidry and Nick Betherne, and also, we've met with Mitch Orgeron, the new Lafourche Parish president, and they all on board. They ready to go. They, they will be contributing. They will be overseeing from Golden Meadow to the Jefferson line, and we're following the master plan. But as we progress, we'll tweak certain things along the way. But as far as economics, you're talking about working dredges, you're talking about working tugboats, you're talking about working barges. We're going to have rocks, so anyone in the rock business is going to need them. And what about marsh buggy excavators? You have to build dikes around all this. So your marsh buggy operators, your bucket dredge operators. I mean, it's got something for everyone in there on economically.
What's the learning curve? Somebody like Angela in Terrebonne knows it. She's lived it. She's been there forever. But when you start branching out, Lafourche too, but when you branch out and you get to Cameron Parish and other parishes that really haven't done what we've done in this area, I'm sure there's an educational gap from Angela to Cameron Parish. So they have to learn it, don't they?
Yes, and we're very fortunate to have Angela Hidalgo. She's been with us for years. Tony can probably tell you how many years, but it's quite a few years, and she's grabbed the ball and run with it. Very good to work with. She knows CPRA. She knows the Corps of Engineers, and of course Tony being the president of the board, and his old board. What a great board. South Lafourche has done a wonderful job getting their levees up to 18 feet.
Yeah, and I know when we asked Trey for the drone footage, we got a lot.
Yeah.
So, and not just to pick on Terrebonne or Lafourche in a good way, but we're ahead of the curve because of the projects we've had, right?
Right. The projects that, of course, Morganza, a line in the sand, right? And that's still underway. A lot of work going on there. Angela has been there longer than I have. Or really anybody else, I think, on the board, but besides Sue and maybe Carl Chauvin, right, on the board. And so she's, done a lot, and we're real fortunate to have her. And while you got engineers involved all the time, and so having that line in the sand really protects us from hurricanes. But now we're going to try to save the land that's falling apart. And you have engineers involved to talk about how to do it. And I think the land bridge, being as wide as it is, we're going to be armoring it with rocks in the open water areas as well as the canals. And it's going to be solid. It's going to be something tremendous in addition to the Barrier Islands that we're saying.
And more than something else, all the way to the east, you have President Hinckley with Plaquemine that's been on board. They've been wanting to do this as long as I've been wanting to do it. And they're actually doing Spanish Pass, which is another land bridge that's being handled by President Keith Hinckley. You have Jefferson Parish. You have Pat Connick on board. You have, remember, Lafitte needs the Barataria one as worse as anyone else because they have no protection. They're sitting in the middle of it. And then you have Jefferson Parish president. And so, we're going to work with all of the entities from Plaquemine, Jefferson, to Lafourche and Terrebonne on this side, and then on the east side of the river, naturally, St. Bernard and St. Tammany Parish.
And you've sort of prodded me that not just Terrebonne and Lafourche, they would know going east, and the mayor of Grand Isle would absolutely know also.
Well, they all happy because they're not putting all that Mississippi River polluted water. And I know a lot of people call it fresh water. Well, it's polluted fresh water. And a small amount of Mississippi River water doesn't harm you if you keep it under 5% of your estuary, and that's been documented. But when you're going to put 50-60% of the water in there, you're changing the whole quality of water of that estuary.
Edison Schwest Offshore is more than a fleet. We're an interconnected network of vessels, logistics hubs, and a fast-growing workforce of over 19,000 dedicated professionals across the globe. From the United States to Brazil and the Middle East to Southeast Asia, Schwest provides cutting-edge solutions to a worldwide community. And in the face of evolving demands across the industry, we are committed to operating as the best in the world.
When it comes to marine towing, Crosby Tugs has over 40 years of experience. We have the know-how to safely assist ships into and out of their berths, escort oil tankers quickly and safely, tow ships, respond to fuel spills, and work in extreme conditions. Founded in 1977 by Vinton and Kurt Crosby, we are one of the largest privately owned marine transportation businesses in the industry. If it's on the water, let Crosby be your transporter.
Sea Level Construction is a heavy civil contractor that provides turnkey services for the industrial and marine industries. From building large-scale infrastructure to installing the foundation for expansion projects, Sea Level and its family of companies offer a wide range of capabilities including driven piles, drilled deep foundations, structural fabrication, structural concrete, marine construction, barge maintenance and repair, site work development, heavy equipment repair services, and electrical services. Call Sea Level Construction to set the foundations for your next big project.
Our engineers around here are unbelievable when it comes to knowing these things. And of course, it's right up their wheelhouse now. They live it every day. But when you're talking about the land bridges, how do you know where to put? Are y'all trying to find shallow areas or ridges already under the water where it doesn't cost you as much to build them? How are y'all coming up with that?
You're exactly right. You follow ridges. They're following ridges originally from 13 years ago when it was put together. It's following different ridges because the last thing you want to do is try to build it in deep, in deep marsh waters or deep lake waters. So yes, that's why you see it when you go see the map. It moves all over the place following ridges. You're 100% right. And look, we have about 7 different engineering firms involved with this, and I think these are the best of the best. These are all qualified. They know what they're doing. And, there's other firms out there too. And as they progress, they may pick up some other firms as they move forward. But, we're ready to move. Like I said, we'll have as much as 8 to 10 dredges if we can find them at the time we're ready. And we're going to build this thing within 10 years. I mean, I'm hoping 6, 7 years, and to be under construction within 2 years if we can work with the Corps, and I think the Corps will work with us.
Well, if you two guys are trying to do this before 10 years, I'm putting my money on you guys. Right? The pit bull and the Rottweiler, right, or vice versa?
Well, remember this, Martin. President Donald Trump passed an executive order that the environmental assessments have to be done in 6 months, and environmental impact statements have to be done within a year.
Right.
And that's pretty hard to achieve, but that is a direct order from the president to the Corps of Engineers.
But that has helped y'all tremendously, right?
And we're booking that, yes. Yeah.
So he's knocked out a lot of the paperwork, so to speak. He just wants to get it done, right?
Right. And, of course, that's thanks to Governor Jeff Landry up there in Washington with his ties. He's pushing. We have Attorney General Liz Morrell. Tony's been working with her on a lot of issues. And
how does that help y'all when you don't have to fight the bureaucracy of all of this, which we all know? Y'all been around long enough to know that it's ebbs and flows, Right. But now you have a governor and a president on the same page as y'all. How does that expedite? That
helps
things?
a lot.
Yeah.
In fact, project manager Mitch Mormon and Angela have been making trips to D.C. talking to the Secretary of the Army, and the new appointees coming in. It seems like there's a lot of good movement with the Corps of Engineers. Okay, I'm not going to hold my breath, but we still have our same playbook.
But you're happy. You're happy right now with it.
But movement's taking place, and there are good things taking place right now. And I hope it continues because there's a lot of opportunities to put a lot of work on the ground. And, that's what we've always shot for, if you have money out there to be able to put it on the ground to do what it's supposed to do, right? Protect the public. And so a lot of good things going on with this new administration, of course, the state and the federal. So we're real excited about that, and the projects, like we talked about earlier, Jeff Landry would definitely wanted to make sure we put money in all along the coast. Right. We got Chandelier Islands, beautiful islands out there that we built an additional 13 miles over there. All of Brenton Sound, we've got numerous projects going on over there.
Calcasieu Lake to the west.
We've got Calcasieu Lake, just got $122 million over that way.
Complete levee system from Vermilion all the way to St. Mary Parish with floodgates, with pumps, with water control structures. We're moving forward on all those projects.
Well, we're the model over here in Lafourche and Terrebonne. Let's face it, we're the model. And the mayor of Grand Isle, he has tried everything he can. He's pretty good at raising money. He's like you guys, you know. But I would imagine the people west of us who have had no protection, I haven't talked to them yet, but they've got to be ecstatic, aren't they, about what they're seeing?
Well, there's a lot of money going to the west, central, and southeast Louisiana. And, you know, another thing, we're extending the rocks, working with the Corps on a Rockefeller Reserve. We're extending them to the east, segmented breakwater rocks. They're using them out there.
Yeah.
You know, we're rebuilding White Lake. We're refurbishing White Lake, and we're also doing Marsh Island, which is in Iberia Parish, along with some projects in Vermilion Bay.
Segmented breakwater rocks. If I was logging how many times you said that
I'd be
over your
rich.
career, yeah,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
but you've always recognized that rocks. I mean, look,
Stay put.
yeah, I mean the rocks. I don't know what was the contention with the rocks, but God, in the long run, it proved to be true, didn't it?
100%. When you look anyone in the viewing audience, go on your Google Earth and look up Raccoon Island. Elapse it back to before hurricanes and after. They repair themselves in 2 years. Look at Grand Isle. Grand Isle was devastated with Ida wherever there wasn't rocks. And of course, we're working with the Corps. We hope to be under construction as quick as possible. We're actually funding $20 million of it. Corps putting up $45 million to finish the rocks on Grand Isle. And we've been really, really pushing it. The governor's he's been behind every project, but he's went to Grand Isle himself, and we met with the Assistant Secretary of the Army, a couple of generals, and a new Colonel Otans, which is from this area, and he's doing a wonderful job, along with Duran.
Yeah. So let's talk about the land bridges. You said how wide are they?
We're trying to get them around 2,000 feet. We may have them at 1,800 in some areas. We hope to have them at 2,400 in some areas, and that's going to be up to the engineers when they start
What's
doing the
the
engineering.
elevation?
3.5 to 5.5.
Okay.
And then some of them may be, as you skirt to the lower ends, they may be a little less, but you're gonna line rocks if it's open water.
So I hate to even use this as an example, but in the instance that there would be a tsunami in the Gulf, it would help that also.
100%.
And
So
that's
will a
not
levee
out of the
system.
thinking nowadays, you know?
So will a levee system. And there could be a tsunami because in the Bahamas, I've read it, there is some tectonic plates in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
That could cause a tsunami. We don't have that problem here, but they do have some tectonic plates in I forget which islands in the Bahamas, but they do have them.
All right, so now with these land bridges, how many, barricades we'd have 3 before it would actually get to, communities? We'd have the levees, we'd have the land bridges, we'd have the reservoirs, we'd have, how many different lines of defense would we
You'd have
have?
the Barrier Islands, you'd have the land bridge, you'd have,
True,
of
we
course,
got rid
the
of the Barrier
restored
Islands,
marsh, right?
Yeah.
And you'd have the levee, and then you would have the reservoir on top of that. So you'd have multiple lines of defense.
So at least 4 lines of defense.
Right.
Moving in.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
And we're choking, like Tony said earlier, and I hadn't really related a lot on that, is we're tightening up the passes with rocks as much as we're doing West Bell Pass, Little Pass, Cat Island Pass, and Wine Island Pass. The engineers have orders is to choke them or narrow them as much as humanly possible, as much as sound engineering possible, I should say.
Would they all be different, or are you trying to get them all to one scale?
Well, a good example, Little Pass is 6 miles, and one time it's probably 1 mile. So if you get it down to 3 miles, you've stopped a lot of water coming in. Hopefully we get it closer than that. And with these Timberley Island, we're doing what they call the Casateta Islands, which is right north of it, which will help restrict water also.
It's like a faucet where you can sort of regulate how much water's coming in and the speed it's coming in. You're stopping the overall Gulf from inundating you. It'll hit the passes, come on in, but it's regulated at that point, right?
Right.
You can control it.
Right. And, we always talked about, the alignment was the alignment with the levee system, and we did, you mentioned that with this. The reason the levee's so crooked is you're hitting ridges in areas that when the alignment was formed. It was always sad that we couldn't have had that alignment for Morganza to encompass Cocodrie and some of the other areas out there. But this, between the barrier islands and choking down of the passes and that land bridge is going to protect Cocodrie to some degree, right?
Yeah, you're giving them a fighting chance at this point.
Right. Maybe stop the marsh from falling apart and as it slowly, eats its way to Cocodrie.
Outside the levee system, good point Tony brought up. Outside the Morganza levee system, when there's a heavy south wind or a small tropical storm, redfish and Coco Marina and all, well, that Benny Sanak has lifted Coco Marina up, so they've got a little more distance to get up, but a lot of Cocodrie goes underwater when there's a south wind, and then that's what this should help prevent.
I remember for Hurricane Andrew, when we got out there, I think they had 12 foot of water on the Coco Marina.
Yeah.
And I was stunned because we were going to stay at Coco Marina for Andrew, and somebody said, y'all crazy if you stay. Well, we left and we came back 2 days later, saw the water marks. This will alleviate a lot of that.
Yes, 100%.
Edison Schwest Offshore is more than a fleet. We're an interconnected network of vessels, logistics hubs, and a fast-growing workforce of over 19,000 dedicated professionals across the globe. From the United States to Brazil and the Middle East to Southeast Asia, Schwest provides cutting-edge solutions to a worldwide community. And in the face of evolving demands across the industry, we are committed to operating as the best in the world.
When it comes to marine towing, Crosby Tugs has over 40 years of experience. We have the know-how to safely assist ships into and out of their berths, escort oil tankers quickly and safely, tow ships, respond to fuel spills, and work in extreme conditions. Founded in 1977 by Vinton and Kurt Crosby, we are one of the largest privately owned marine transportation businesses in the industry. If it's on the water, let Crosby be your transporter.
Sea Level Construction is a heavy civil contractor that provides turnkey services for the industrial and marine industries. From building large-scale infrastructure to installing the foundation for expansion projects, Sea Level and its family of companies offer a wide range of capabilities including driven piles, drilled deep foundations, structural fabrication, structural concrete, marine construction, barge maintenance and repair, site work development, heavy equipment repair services, and electrical services. Call Sea Level Construction to set the foundations for your next big project.
All right, Mr. Dove, if you could bring us through some of the slide presentation that you have, and we'll ask questions as you go. But let's start off with the projects and engineering with the permits.
Okay, and a large number of these projects can and will be submitted for approval of funding through NIFWIF and NERDA funding, which is your BP oil spill money. And then a lot of them will be funded with Go Mesa, surplus monies from the state and capital outlay. But like from Marsh Island to White Lake to Fouchon segmented breakwater rocks, 8.5 miles from West Bell Pass, and East Timberley Island with the Casateta Islands, Wine Island, the Barataria Land Bridge, and the Vermilion to New Iberia with floodgates. Of course, the Corps is moving forward with a 15,000 CFS diversion in Myrtle Grove in lieu of the that big 75,000 CFS. This was authorized by Congress. This is what the Corps wanted to build before the state took it over in about 2014. And Rockefeller, I've talked about that. Grand Isle segmented rocks, we're going to complete that. 15,000 linear feet with the Corps. North side of Grand Isle, we're doing levees, pump stations, Empire lock systems, Bayou Disarmament, floodgate. We'll talk about that a little further on. We're finished funding that Morganza levee system. We'll be talking about that. The levees are moving up to 15 feet. Chandelier Islands, 13 and a half miles. Spanish Pass, the land bridges in Breton Sound, Terrebonne, Lafourche, Plaquemines, and Jefferson, and numerous other projects.
So let me ask you, as you turn the page there, if we wouldn't have got off on diversion, a lot of these projects would be done.
Those projects have been on a master plan.
Okay.
80% of them.
Wow.
So they would have been completed 13 years ago if they hadn't diverted all the money to the Barataria Land Bridge.
So not only did we put projects behind, but
excuse me, not the Barataria Land Bridge, the Barataria, Mid-Barataria diversion, I'm sorry.
But not only did we put the projects on the back burner, we wasted money in the process.
Well, we lost $550 million and recovered $2.3 billion plus a little more. As we progress forward, we're making a lot of interest on our monies right now.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
We are investing it in, that's a big program we have
I'm
going
talking
on.
just procrastinating, getting to the part that we needed to do.
Working
Time.
with Executive Director Mike Hare. You know, we're moving forward on investments, and we're working with the TIG, Trustee Implementation Group, on investing the money and making
So y'all recovering what we've lost.
Well, we're trying to recover some of it, yes.
You won't get all of it, but yeah, I understand.
But you'll get,
all right.
Then the next one is, this shows the land bridge, the Barataria Land Bridge, which we are under engineering, which is 23 and a half miles. And if you look to the north, that is the smaller diversion that the Corps is doing. Now, with the Corps doing it, we have no liability. We do a 35% match. They construct it, build it, and operate it, or we can choose to operate it when they complete. Mm-hmm. The beauty part about this, we have no liability, and we don't have to start we only have to put up the engineering money now, which is 50-50, and when it's time for construction, it's 35-65%. All right. So our monies go way down to $300 million versus $3 billion to build the other one. Mm-hmm. Not even 10%. So the next one, that just gives you a close-up of the Barataria Land Bridge, and I'll tell you as I go, this is on the state's master plan. We're not reinventing the wheel. The wheel was already here, and that's 6,800 acres. Then the next one is, this is, you can see the green, the green is the Barataria, the next slide. See, the green is ending at the Lafourche Jefferson line, and then comes in the Lafourche, east side of Lafourche, which is going to be a land bridge, and we may tweak that some. A lot of people want to go a little further south than that, but as we move forward, we'll look at going a little further south.
That's a good question. Do you have you can tweak things as you go?
Whatever better economically and practical.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Yes. But right now we try to follow the state master plan.
Okay. All right.
And then the next one is, this is the affected area of the, you can see of the Barataria. It's okay. If you read on here, the Barataria Land Bridge protects approximately 276,350 acres of land by retaining and slowing the migration of freshwater south, while slowing the migration of high salinity salt water north. Therefore, vegetation will grow and become pristine. This is everything north of the project up to the Intercoastal Canal. So now we're protecting 276,000 acres just on the east side of Lafourche and the west side of Plaquemines. The next slide, and please join in if there's any questions. That is the Terrebonne side. This is what the Terrebonne Levee District is handling. Tony, Alfred, and Angela and them, from Golden Meadow all the way to the west of Cocodrie, And as you see, it does include Cocodrie. And now remember, if right north of there in Grand Bayou, we're designing a 1,200 CFS pump station. It's already designed. We're funding it. So we're going to pump water from the Intercoastal Canal into the estuary between Lafourche and Terrebonne to freshen that up. And of course, the land bridge will help retain it. You want to add anything, Tony?
Yeah, well, you know, what we've done right above that, I think what's 126,000 acres that we're going to impact. And the only reason it's only 126,000 because it goes to Morganza.
157.
Right.
157? 157,000. And we, of course, we built K&L, which connects to Lafourche. And we figured that Terrebonne Levee would do the same thing. You know, would connect to Golden Meadow.
But y'all been upping your levies to 15 as we speak.
Yes, as we speak. And, you know, I think we have some opportunities to get our hands on a lot more money to get it up even faster than what we've done.
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Dove? On this shot, let's go back to the Golden Meadow, the Terrebonne right here. Not only does that save them, we talked about tsunamis, and people think I'm crazy, but with tsunamis, storms, everything else, what does that do to help insurance?
Well, it'll definitely help our insurance. I mean, we're going to start putting that in the package. Now, you can see where we're stopping in Terrebonne. We're only showing it stop there because that's what's on the state's master plan. We eventually want to tie it all the way into the Michon Land Bridge, if you see to the left. But right here, if you show the next slide, it will show the impact of it. And as Tony said, if you look at the north side of it, that's the Morganza levee system. Because Morganza is in itself building land. And so it's 157,500 acres, and that protects and benefits that. If you look at it to the left, it goes all the way up, and you can see up to the left is Lake Decad.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but we're going to extend that eventually, or during this project, during this process. You know, it all depends on the money-wise, but that is, when you get that forward to our west, to Terrebonne's west, as you know, the vegetation gets really, really strong.
It does.
And you see what Morganza's doing right now already. Inside the system, it's turning green, it's turning fresher, you know. It gets me that we're still doing mitigation as we build it because it's a mitigation system. It should be self-mitigated, right? And of course, that's going to happen on the outside with this project as well.
That's impressive.
And then the next map really sums it all up, which is 84 miles. And that's linear miles. It's not straight miles. If you follow that, that's really linear miles. But you got 276,000 acres in Barataria and 157 in Terrebonne and Lafourche. And of course, when I say Barataria, I'm saying Plaquemine, Jefferson, and the east side of Lafourche in Barataria and Terrebonne and Lafourche. It's a total of 433,850 acres benefited. And then, like I say, in Terrebonne, north of that is being benefited because Morganza, the levee system acts as a land bridge. It's just a lot taller.
Can I ask you a crazy question, something that I'm thinking of while we're looking at it? When you start funneling the openings, you know, the channels, like, what does that do to the ship channel? Does it bring more silt in, or do you compensate for that, or what y'all thinking?
Well, like at the ship channel, the Bubba Dove floodgate is 250 feet. So we plan on choking the Homer Ave down at that point 250 feet. That's what I've asked the engineers to make sure that the formula works with that.
Okay, good.
So by choking the Homer Ave down, that'll slow down some of that migration north. And remember, the lock system is an environmental structure. It's going to already withhold fresh water into our estuaries to the north of that Tony and Angela in the levee boards building, the Terrebonne levee boards building.
Okay, that answers my question.
$350 million.
Okay. If we could keep proceeding, let's go to
The next one is just a different slide showing the actual outline. As you can see, it's completely it protects Robertson Canal, Lake Robertson, Lake Boudreaux, along with others. And then the next one's an interesting one because we're about to start this to your left where it says the Terrebonne, Bayou Terrebonne. That is a restoration project where you see the red north and south. That's 165 million. That's moving forward. That's been on the books. And if you look to the right, where you see this turquoise, aqua green or whatever, that's Pointe-a-Chan. So that's the Pointe-a-Chan Ridge. That is still under design and engineering. So, excuse me, that is on the master plan. We have not done anything on that yet, but Terrebonne is ready to go.
And you can see, if you look at that map, look at Lafourche, look at that solid piece of land. Of course, they started in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
Look how much that marsh, to the east has fallen apart. Excuse me, to the west has fallen apart.
Yes.
It's just like coffee grinds, it looks like on that map, right? Mm-hmm. If only we'd have started earlier. Of course, you can't. You got to move forward, right?
Right.
But this hopefully will help bring back some of that marsh and impact that tremendously.
Okay, the next slide, that's just some typical slides. So it's basically like the other slides, but we'll just go through them right quick. Mm-hmm. And there again, that's the Barataria side of it. 276,000 acres protected and benefits. And then the next one is Terrebonne again, I believe. And this is basically the same thing we've been looking at, but you can see the outline of the protection in yellow to the north. There again, that's up to the Morganza levee system. And then this one, the next slide is the original. This is the original master plan, just to show you what's originally in our book. And this has been in there since 2012. As you can see, we're not recreating the wheel. This is the wheel that should have moved forward a decade ago. And as you can see, even the ridge is on it. So, we're pretty close to following and we're going to follow the master plan. And, of course, we'll tweak it where we see it necessary.
See, that's what blows my mind. Looking at this, in 2012, if we'd have just stuck to the plan,
it'd be done.
Yeah, it'd be done.
Yeah.
I was on the board.
I know.
I was chairman of Natural Resources and Environment for the state of Louisiana, and this was our plan.
I know.
That was all diverted to a 75,000 CFS diversion, which was an experiment. Mm-hmm. And, of course, it didn't work.
Okay.
The next one, this is an interesting slide that just shows you, we've got some good land stewards down there. The yellow is Conoco. Conoco owns 630,000 acres along this route, which we'll be dealing with them on the footprint. They've been very good land stewards. They do terracing, and of course it's to their interest to build, to keep their land up. But that's just an interesting map showing you what Conoco owns in Terrebonne, Lafourche, Jefferson, and Plaquemines.
I never realized they owned that much land.
I think a little bit in St. Mary Parish, if you look over north of Pointe-a-Chan to the west. They own a little bit of land in St. Mary. So that just show you 40% of this will be in Conoco's or Conoco property. So if you see 40% will be in Conoco, and 30 miles of the 84 miles will be on Conoco, which they call it LL&E, but that is right. Conoco.
Okay.
And then the next is the actual where their land intersects with it in Barataria. And then the next one is Apache. That's in Barataria. Now, because we're still getting these land rights together, but purple, that's Apache. Apache, Louisiana Minerals, and we'll be dealing with them on this. They'll probably have 35% along the whole thing of land. Between Conoco and Apache will probably be, I'm going to say, 70 to 80% of the whole project on their properties. And just to move forward, just to show you a land bridge that has just been completed to the right that is the Spanish Pass land bridge. You can see it's very robust. And on the left is some mid-Breton work that's going on. That's 3,500 acres that was done in mid-Breton that is actually getting completed as we speak.
Hey, can people go on these land bridges and set up a tent camp? What can they do?
Well, Spanish Pass, there were so many people going on it, they put a gate.
Okay.
They end up putting a gate in Plaquemines Pass it's right around Venice. And I'm sure they will. That's up to the parish, of course.
Gotcha. So each parish controls their
They control it,
sector.
right.
Okay.
And then the next one is just show you that we're not only doing land bridges there, that's to the east of the river. As you can see, the numerous amount of, the green is in construction, and the red is engineering and design, and the orange is just awaiting funding. So you can see we're spending a lot of money in Breton, and it actually goes up to Chandeleur Sound, and that, that's St. Bernard and St. Tammany, and that actually protects Orleans also, and Jefferson. And then the next one is kind of gives you a little, East Delacroix, Breton Land Bridge, Lake Leary, Pontchartrain Rim, Bayou La Loutre Ridge. So it just shows you we're doing a lot on the east side of the river. We've transformed from doing diversions to land bridges because you do them quick.
Edison Schwest Offshore is more than a fleet. We're an interconnected network of vessels, logistics hubs, and a fast-growing workforce of over 19,000 dedicated professionals across the globe. From the United States to Brazil and the Middle East to Southeast Asia, Schwest provides cutting-edge solutions to a worldwide community. And in the face of evolving demands across the industry, we are committed to operating as the best in the world.
When it comes to marine towing, Crosby Tugs has over 40 years of experience. We have the know-how to safely assist ships into and out of their berths, escort oil tankers quickly and safely, tow ships, respond to fuel spills, and work in extreme conditions. Founded in 1977 by Vinton and Kurt Crosby, we are one of the largest privately owned marine transportation businesses in the industry. If it's on the water, let Crosby be your transporter.
Sea Level Construction is a heavy civil contractor that provides turnkey services for the industrial and marine industries. From building large-scale infrastructure to installing the foundation for expansion projects, Sea Level and its family of companies offer a wide range of capabilities including driven piles, drilled deep foundations, structural fabrication, structural concrete, marine construction, barge maintenance and repair, site work development, heavy equipment repair services, and electrical services. Call Sea Level Construction to set the foundations for your next big project.
All the personalities, like I'm looking at these parishes to the east of us, and that is some AAA personalities. I say it in a good way because they know politics. We know politics here, but we have a different kind of politics. Lafourche has a different kind of politics. How do you get everybody together at one table and go, here's where we go?
Well, I think it's the same. Everyone has the same target, is to protect their area.
Yeah.
And land bridges does it without question.
Right.
It's not an experiment. You're going to pump land. You're going to be able to drive on the land. It's going to have bulldozers as soon as it settles and what have you. And it's a lot of times while it's pumping, if it's pumping off the river, it'll have bulldozers operating. So it's the same thing. I mean, they're all looking for the protection. Some get a lot more involved than others. And like St. Tammany Parish just got authorized with Congress for $5.8 billion for levees and shore protection, but that's a long process. That's like starting all the way from the beginning with Morganza 20 years ago.
Right. Water Resource Development Act.
Yeah, so
they're a long ways away from getting $5.8 billion.
Yeah,
I hate to say that.
but you got to start.
Right. Okay.
And it was authorized by Congress. So, with that, that's Port 1. That is and that's basically the land bridges that are going under construction, design and engineering. We have $2.3 billion in funding available, along with $200 million a year between GOMESA funding and royalties, along with any surplus and any capital outlay that we're able to get.
Okay.
On this. Of course, that also funds your levee system, which is in the second part of this.
I'm anxious to get to this next slide because that's the Morganza to the Gulf. And of course, for the residents who've been hearing about Morganza to the Gulf for a long time, explain this. This is a pretty intense slide here.
I think that's Tony's territory
take a
right
shot
there.
at
Well, you can see how many projects to put that levee together in those little boxes, right?
And that's a core map.
Yeah. So you've had, reach after reach, just to not go, I guess, go all the way back, but just talk about how we got this thing permitted. It wasn't, hey, we got the whole project permitted at one time. It was 3-mile sections at a time.
Wow.
And we had to have a mitigation plan and start mitigation on that project as we were building it. Concurrent with construction, we had to do mitigation, which I always felt like was unfair. The Corps put a lot of work around New Orleans, but they put the mitigation on the side so that they could do the most important thing and put the protection to protect the people before they did the mitigation. We weren't allowed to do that. We had to do one section at a time and do the mitigation concurrent with construction. And so we did that for 80-something miles of the project. And of course, the first lift, I think we went to 8 feet, then we went to 12 feet, and now we're in the process. Most of it is 15 feet, but we still have some sections that we're bringing to 15 feet.
What is that, F?
We've got F, we've got J2, we've got K, we've got L. We've got a couple of sections, a couple of areas still.
But y'all moving dirt.
We're moving dirt, and working on all of it. H2 and H3, we're going up to 15 right now. And that's all the way from Petit Caillou Floodgate all the way to Bush Canal. So we're going up to 15. You can't take a breather in this situation. We haven't flooded in quite some time, but, all it takes is one storm. And everything we've done just looks not as impressive when people have water in their houses, right?
Well, but I've seen it personally on this desk go from 12,000 plus to almost zero.
Yeah.
And now with this 15-foot levee.
Yeah.
And look, we got to account for some breaches or whatever, but I'm just saying in general, when you go 15, you're widening the levee also.
Right. No doubt. They'll be solid, just like they've always been. And again, Gordy mentioned earlier, that lock system, man, that's the linchpin of the entire Morganza system. It's going to stop the salt water from coming in and keep the fresh water in the system, which will make it's already turning green inside the system, but this is going to be like on steroids.
And boy, let me add this: if the levee was to be overtopped, we have hundreds and hundreds of square miles of reservoir. Of estuary on the inside the levees that have to fill up. So, and as you know, a hurricane is a time event. Because we want the levees all the way to 21 one day, but 15 is getting pretty good. 12 is pretty darn good, and 15 is naturally better.
But if you have the barrier islands, then the land bridges, then the levees at that height, then the reservoirs, you're still taking the energy out of the surge.
Right.
Absolutely.
Saying the energy we all know is detrimental, but if you're taking one little chunk out of each level it gets to, by the time it gets anywhere, it's almost still water.
And remember, you're about 16 miles from the Gulf.
Right.
You're about 16 miles from the Gulf, about 19 miles from downtown Houma.
Absolutely.
It will definitely be in a lot better shape. And of course, everybody always asks, well, what if a 4 hits us? What if a 5 hits? You can't just say that based on category. Depends on how fast it's moving, or how slow it's moving, and what's taking place.
We've had some 2s with bigger surges than 4s.
Yeah, well, once, right? You had a 9-foot surge with Barry back when, right?
But I want to reiterate, because everybody always says they're just taking care of the city of Houma. No, what I'm seeing here, taking care of all of the coastal area. The reclaiming of that land south of Terrebonne or the land bridges takes care of Montague and Chauvin, Cocodrie, so
all of it.
Everybody.
One swoop.
And
Lafourche, and of course Plaquemine, Jefferson, East Lafourche, West Lafourche, Terrebonne. I mean, one swoop, and we hoping to build that for about $1.5 billion. Of course, the numbers will be what the numbers are when we ready to go to construction.
So they've had a lot of people thinking about moving into the city or moving away. maybe
Stay where you at.
stay where you at. Pause
If you like it, I'll
pause
go
a little
ahead.
bit. Yeah.
Right.
We're coming.
Much better
Okay.
shape.
Well, I'm glad we can bring them that. All right, we ready to look at the next slide? This would be the Homer Nav, I think. Okay.
Yeah. So this project's coming along. You know, I see Angela sitting out there right now. I guess we're about 2.5 years from this thing being complete at this point. You know, it's been under construction for a year and a half or so, or maybe even a little longer than that. But you know, this thing's going to be great. You know, again, stop the salt water from coming in. The fresh water that comes out of the intercoastal that goes up the navigational canal or down the navigational canal and has always flushed out the system, now hits that wall and spreads throughout the tributaries within the system. And so that's going to be tremendous to see how this comes back. And look, in addition to that, you know, you get these tree planting situations, you know, where we partner up with, they go plant cypress trees all over the parish. Now you're talking about a real survivability rate for these trees to flourish when you have fresh water within the system.
And Martin, another thing, you know, on Ida, we had a reverse head. We were clocking, I was parish president at that time, we were clocking 180 miles an hour coming from the north, because it threw 12, 14-foot waves at the gate and moved the Bubba Dove floodgate, I believe, 70 feet, Tony?
Yeah, yep.
Now, with the lock system, you got 110 foot between the wing walls. You will open the gate and let the water out.
Right.
Yep.
You see, so
And
that's
I think
the
in
key.
some parts had
That's the key.
18 foot of water.
Could
Yeah,
be.
some parts.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
But now you see the whole design of that was to allow to open up the lock system and just let the water out.
You know, that brings up a good point. You know, you sort of learn from the previous storm,
Right.
and what's taking place. We never saw that coming, and also, you know, out by Petit Caillou, you know, all that water came out of Lake Boudreaux and piled up in the corner over there. Well, we made improvements with that. We got hazard mitigation money, about $10 million, and we were able to put more flap gates on Petit Caillou. Placid, we were able to put more flap gates. Bush Canal, we were able to put more flap gates. And the study was, we did a pretty quick study on that and what that meant. So that 9 foot of water that came up in that corner, it'll knock 5 feet off of that, just having those additions to those structures.
Yeah, those reverse head
Yeah, is that-
floodgates, like he said, a flap, they got the outside flaps will allow the water out. It's that simple.
And engineering should be fluid, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's going to change. But you correct it as you learn. 'Cause
Right.
I remember sitting on a desk with y'all for that and going, this has never happened. And it never did.
Right.
But you can't just say, well, it'll never happen again. You got to, like it will happen, and y'all fixed it.
You know, sector gates are the best gates by far out there, okay? When we built these floodgates, we didn't have a choice. Sector gates are by 5 times the cost of these barge gates. They're easier to operate. You can open and close them at will. These are tougher, but we had no choice to close up those canals. We had to put those barge gates in force to stop these storms, right? And so now we're getting a little further down the road. This is going to be great. This lock system, we can open and close.
Yeah. How about the complex?
Because you could build 3 barge gates to 1 sector gate. Maybe even 4 barge gates to 1 sector gate. I mean, look, this complex right here, what was your total, Tony? 350 million?
But 400.
Whatever.
We did some negotiating. Yeah, right. About 350. You're right. Gordon.
And that's a sector gate, and that's 110 foot between the wing walls. So if a vessel is too large to go through there, they just open a Bubba Dove. The Bubba Dove floodgate will be there. So if it's within 250 feet, you can get a larger project in a Terrebonne Parish. So economically, the Bubba Dove would still be in place to let larger vessels in that can't get in through 110 foot.
Yeah.
So David with the Port Commission is okay with that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Rabelais is good with it. And the rest of the port commissioners, they really got a good port commission.
And y'all have to work with all of those.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
to
you
make
know,
this cover,
you have Dan Davis, right?
Yeah,
Dan
yeah.
Davis on the Port Commission and the Levee Board.
Yeah.
And that helps, you know, us know what's going on both
So there's
sides.
no secrets.
No secrets.
He's going to be on both.
That's
Yeah.
right.
All right. That's
Yeah.
cool.
And then the next slides are just
to the next
pictures
one,
of
Jeff.
that is, Yeah, there's the floodgate. The bubble dove will stay in place, and there's the new lock system to the right, and that's the picture without the lock system, of course.
Look at all that marsh up above, marsh creation. I think we're ahead right now about 50 acres of mitigation because of that.
By disarmament, let's bring it up again, Jay.
Yeah, this is something very important in Lafourche. Creamer was devastated when Ida came up by Lafourche. Came up Disarmament, Bayou Disarmament, and of course you have St. Charles. The property, the boundary line is right in the middle of that canal, of that bayou, I should say. That's a 273-foot gate we're just finishing designing. We have put together $50 million with CPRA. We're adding $40 million this year. That gate will be funded, and of course that will protect North Lafourche and also St. Charles, and also Ascension and some other parishes along there, St. John and St. James. And this is huge. This is completely engineered. We're trying to go to construction at the beginning of next year. It's a $90 million gate. And I know your viewing area is Lafourche Parish and St. Charles and all. So I just want to make sure this is huge, and this will stop that water from coming up there, after a hurricane.
Let's look at that floodgate too. There you go.
That's the ICW East. The Corps is designing this. So it'll be finished the design in 2028. We're trying to speed them up, and this will be funded by the federal government. This is 225 feet between the wing wall, between the opening on it, and this is right east of Lafourche Parish. That is being designed and construction and authorized by Congress for the Corps to build this. That's actually moving along, and the other one is ICW Intercoastal Canal West. That's right east of Miners Canal. And that will be built at the same time. They'll be built simultaneously. And that is the same thing, 225 feet. And that is to close up the Morganza system, east and west.
Edison Schwest Offshore is more than a fleet. We're an interconnected network of vessels, logistics hubs, and a fast-growing workforce of over 19,000 dedicated professionals across the globe. From the United States to Brazil and the Middle East to Southeast Asia, Schwest provides cutting-edge solutions to a worldwide community. And in the face of evolving demands across the industry, we are committed to operating as the best in the world.
When it comes to marine towing, Crosby Tugs has over 40 years of experience. We have the know-how to safely assist ships into and out of their berths, escort oil tankers quickly and safely, tow ships, respond to fuel spills, and work in extreme conditions. Founded in 1977 by Vinton and Kurt Crosby, we are one of the largest privately owned marine transportation businesses in the industry. If it's on the water, let Crosby be your transporter.
Sea Level Construction is a heavy civil contractor that provides turnkey services for the industrial and marine industries. From building large-scale infrastructure to installing the foundation for expansion projects, Sea Level and its family of companies offer a wide range of capabilities including driven piles, drill deep foundations, structural fabrication, structural concrete, marine construction, barge maintenance and repair, site work development, heavy equipment repair services, and electrical services. Call Sea Level Construction to set the foundations for your next big project.
Who's doing all these projects? I know you got Sea Level and other people. There's a lot of work to go around.
Yeah, there's a lot of work. We've got a lot of contractors on the job right now. We have a bunch of work going on, a lot of engineering services as well. But again, we're working with the Corps to try to get some of that federal money. You have limited amounts of state money to put in these projects. Projects like that, you're talking about, $600-700 million to put those two structures in place.
You're 100% right. $375 a structure.
Yeah.
That's 750.
And so we need some help on the federal level.
And
with
that's
that.
just not a pie in the sky. They are being engineered by the Corps of Engineers, and they slated to have complete the engineering in 2028, and we're trying to move them forward. You know, Tony and them and myself and CPRA and the levee board's trying to move them forward.
All the way to the intercoastal on the west side, I guess behind waterproof and all that. We're in the process of moving forward there. We're having to meet with National Wildlife and Fisheries to be able to cross the wildlife management area. So that's ongoing as well to help close that system when that floodgate does become a reality, that we have closure on all sides.
All right, let's go to this one. Interests me, the Grand Isle West End after Hurricane Ida. Slide, if we could pull that up.
Look after that's after Cat 4. If you go back, that is a small section that was done on the west end. As you know, on the east end, they got about 4 miles done. And just to show you, and we're closing up between the east and the west end, which is 15,000 linear feet of a coastline, of shoreline. And that is about $65 million, and we're real close to getting it kicked off. We've got a few, the Corps always has hurdles, but they're all working well with us, and we're trying to move Grand Isle forward. And
Gordon, I think it'd be worth mentioning the governor is so involved with all of this. He actually went and talked to Pete Hegseth.
Really?
The defense secretary.
Wow.
To say, hey, look, we've been trying to work with the Corps to get this stuff done, and a lot of them came out to Grand Isle with Gordy and the governor and trying to figure out, okay, what do we have to do to put this on the ground?
Mm-hmm. Right. We had the governor out there. We had the assistant secretary of the Army, General Peoples, General Spelling.
Yep.
And we had the Colonel Otan, who's the new colonel, and of course Mike Hare, the new executive director, was out there, and he's working with us well and getting acclimated with all the projects, doing a great job.
All right, good.
And then I always show this, Martin. This next one, this is in 2016. The Wildlife Federation is passed a resolution stating that rocks are the future of the coast of Louisiana, on Barrier Islands, coastline, etc. And I always showed this that they had come around. I'd asked them for years when I was chairman, and this is the resolution. Everyone's welcome to read it, and they say that the rocks are a way to go in certain instances.
When y'all flew Senator Vitta back in the day. And of course, I was waiting on the ground to interview him when he got off the helicopter. And my first question to him was, Senator Vitta, what'd you learn today? He said, Martin, he said, every other word out of Gordon Dove's mouth was rocks. So I learned that rocks are very important to Mr. Dove.
Right.
And that was a long time ago.
That was
Yeah.
a long time ago. All right. What do we have next on the slide?
Barrier Islands.
Right.
And this is Lafourche and Terrebonne, and of course the first one. Okay, what we're proposing to do, we've been in engineering for a year. As you know, Fouchon is an economic hub of Terrebonne, Lafourche, and many other parishes, and you also have Loop, which 16% of the nation's crude oil comes through Loop, but 50% of the pipeline refining capacity comes through Loop. Loop needs to be protected. Fouchon needs to be protected. So we're doing 8.5 miles from West Bell Pass, if you'll go back on the slide, on West Bell Pass to the east. But the difference is, more normally you put segmented breakwater rocks in at 6 feet. We're going 10 feet is what we're designing them for to protect Fouchon. Fouchon, billions and billions of dollars worth of infrastructure.
Yeah.
And so we are building. They have about 2,000 feet of rocks that was put years ago that was just refurbished.
I'd imagine Pete Hegseth was really like that.
That would probably hit
aspect
home,
of it,
right?
Yeah.
That was huge. And,
Sure.
Yeah.
And like I said, Governor Jeff Landry is on board with all this. He's behind everything. Especially protected Fouchon. It's an economic hedge. I mean, it's our economic engine of Terrebonne, Lafourche, especially Lafayette, New Iberia, et cetera. You
But
know,
it has a military component too, so
right?
Pete Hicks said
Yes.
probably went, if he was on the border, he
Yes.
went back, okay.
Right.
Yeah, I
No
would
doubt.
think so.
And then the next island is East Timley Island. That's all that's left, Martin. That's a crying shame. That was finished designing in 2017. That money was moved to the diversion, the Barataria diversion, if you'll go back to East Timley Island. That's it. See that platform? That platform was within the island. It was north of the island. Ida moved that island, but there was hardly nothing left of it. Because in 2017, that was supposed to be under construction. It would have been completed if they hadn't moved the money from there to the Barataria diversion.
Yeah, let me ask you, so islands float, they shift a little bit.
Well, they migrate, but they erode. If you put rocks, they don't move.
That's what I was going to say, so the
Yeah.
rocks stabilize it.
They stabilize. Grand Isle doesn't move. Raccoon Island doesn't move. Holly Beach doesn't move. But they do have a tendency to want to migrate north.
Yeah. that
But
makes
you
sense.
stop it. And then the next island, and we don't, you know, for a year the Terrebonne Levee District is handling Wine Island. By the way, the other one is being handled, East Timley Island is handled by us with CPRA. This is being handled by Tony Alford, the levee board, and Angela. And this is Wine Island, which is going to have segmented breakwater rocks on it, and so will East Timley Island.
Real excited about that.
guess
Got some
so.
good stuff going on there. The engineers are moving on it.
I remember in '85, we flew over with a helicopter, Teddy Dewey, energy helicopters, and I have that old shot of '85 with all the islands and what's happened from '85 to now. Of course, it's in progress now, but it went fast. It didn't take it long.
And Wine Island's underwater.
Right.
It's about 8 miles of that's good. You know, these are some expensive restoration jobs, and we're not going to build an island as long as I'm around. I think as long as Tony's around, without segmented breakwater rocks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it's shooting yourself in the foot.
You know what's funny? So I'm looking at Angela out there, and we always smile because, of course, you know, our job, Terrebonne Levee's job was a levee, right? And so every time we come up with something like this, the Barry Islands, then the land bridge, and those, I sort of go over there with my tail between my legs saying, okay, I think we got to load the wagon. We got this other stuff coming here. Are we ready?
So is it safe to say you're driving Angela crazy?
Oh, well, she's never said no. She's like, hey, let's do it. Let's figure out what we
But
can
she
do.
knows.
But you know, Martin, it's an easy decision. You know, I'm chairman of CPRA. I have complete oversight of the projects, the implementation of the projects, the funding, the policy of CPRA. So my board, which Tony is a part of it, we have complete oversight of the CPRA, which operates the day-to-day things. And for us to pick, and myself to pick, the levee district after they've built a building over $1 billion worth of projects and protected to Terrebonne Parish, it was a no-brainer. Because remember, levee districts are conservation districts. They can do that kind of work. And the same thing goes for South Lafourche. You know, Keith Guidry and Nick Bethune, and before them,
Curo.
Curon. You know, they lifted their levee to 18 feet to give them the east side of Lafourche Parish. Because giving them Lafourche Parish that's an easy decision. They can handle it, and so that's why the two levee districts in this area are handling certain portions of it.
And it's a good thing they were at 18 because when we were showing the Golden Meadow floodgate live on the air in Lafourche, it was inches.
Yeah. Well, remember, you know, of course, the Corps came in and built the first 13 feet in Lafourche. And it's a good thing that they persisted and they continued adding. And look, there were numerous cease and desist in the process of them doing that. But they continued, and they would not take no, and they continued to get it up, and they got it up to 18.
And you know,
Thank goodness.
Ronald Colley, bless his heart, he's gone now, but Ronald was like Tony, was the president of it for all them years and kept it going, you know.
Yeah, I was on the phone with Wendell when we were showing the floodgate, and he said, well, Martin, is the water up to the weld mark yet? I said, yeah, it got there about 5 hours ago. It's at the top of the 5 foot y'all added on top.
Wow.
And there was silence. He goes, that's 18 feet. I go, yes.
Right.
Yes.
18 feet.
And remember the difference there. In Lafourche, if it comes over the levees in Lafourche is filling up.
That's right.
We're fortunate in our position that we have this huge reservoir before it actually.
But Lafourche had some backflow too.
Right.
You know, so they had to learn.
Yeah.
It's like y'all had to learn. Everybody learned.
Right. That's right.
Edison Schwest Offshore is more than a fleet. We're an interconnected network of vessels, logistics hubs, and a fast-growing workforce of over 19,000 dedicated professionals across the globe. From the United States to Brazil and the Middle East to Southeast Asia, Schwest provides cutting-edge solutions to a worldwide community. And in the face of evolving demands across the industry, we are committed to operating as the best in the world.
When it comes to marine towing, Crosby Tugs has over 40 years of experience. We have the know-how to safely assist ships into and out of their berths, escort oil tankers quickly and safely, tow ships, respond to fuel spills, and work in extreme conditions. Founded in 1977 by Vinton and Kurt Crosby, we are one of the largest privately owned marine transportation businesses in the industry. If it's on the water, let Crosby be your transporter.
Sea Level Construction is a heavy civil contractor that provides turnkey services for the industrial and marine industries. From building large-scale infrastructure to installing the foundation for expansion projects, Sea Level and its family of companies offer a wide range of capabilities including driven piles, drill deep foundations, structural fabrication, structural concrete, marine construction, barge maintenance and repair, site work development, heavy equipment repair services, and electrical services. Call Sea Level Construction to set the foundations for your next big project.
I like showing Raccoon Island because it's so successful. Anyone wants to Google it, it's the western end of Terrebonne Parish. And as you can see, the segmented breakwater rocks were put about 22 years ago. And if you look at the next slide, all that's after Ida. Then look how it's building out the west end of the island. Very successful. It takes about 2 years after a hurricane, and then it rebuilds itself.
That's your story, though, right there.
We haven't done nothing to this island. Now, we're fixing to do a little work to it, but it's 22 years later. And then the next one is just some more slides of showing the success of these rocks. And you know, the rocks are very simple. The currents come in, deposit the sand, and they go back out. That's where they make that arch. Mm-hmm. And it's that simple. It goes in, deposit. In the past, they put solid rocks, and they found that you got to let Mother Nature build itself. And then the next one we talked about earlier was Chandelier Islands in St. Bernard, 13 miles of islands. The Chandelier is our biggest island. It's like 48 miles of island chain. And it is 13 miles. We just awarded it to Weeks Dredging, $350 million.
Yep.
And it was awarded to it. And, of course, they've got some other segments coming up. They will be in construction in about 2.5 months, right after the first of the year. And they will rebuild that island.
Island runs north and south.
That's correct.
Largest barrier islands that we have.
Yeah.
And then the next one is just another, as you can see, it's very...
Plush.
It's worth saving. I mean, it's all our islands are.
Not to mention that anybody in conservation and who loves to see birds, nests, and everything else, that's a perfect habitat.
Yep.
It's good fishing out there too, Antony. I think you fish out there.
I hadn't made it yet, but I'm going to.
But to say I didn't get my bag of trout. All right, we got it. Let's go to the next one, Jay, if we can.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll show the.
That's just, it's $355 million is the construction, 13 miles of beach dune, 5,200 acres of marine seagrass. That's what makes it so important, because of the seagrass.
It's on the next one, Jay.
That's behind it.
Right there. You go.
And so that's and it's beginning of an estimated 2.5 years. of construction. So, and the reason I'm showing these other projects, I know they don't do anything for Terrebonne, Lafourche, and your viewers, but we're doing the whole coast. And
yeah, well, we reach those areas now, believe it or not.
okay, well,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So, and they want to see their own.
Yeah, and then Marsh Island is the next one. Of course, that's 72,000 acres owned by the Wildlife and Fisheries. We're doing a lot of restoration over there. That's about probably 150 million when we finish. And that's under designing and engineering as we speak.
And just to let y'all know, with the Louisiana and Beyond show, that of course y'all have been interviewed. Angela's coming, and also we're gonna have the governor on and all. That reaches everybody because we have our own channel designed for that. So everybody, even in North Louisiana, who votes on stuff on the coastline, will be able to see how important it is to vote on stuff on the coastline.
Sure.
And then White Lake, which is big for Iberia and Vermilion, it's going to protect 61,000 acres. What we're doing, it's over $100 million of restoration, and a lot of that land is owned by Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries. Rockefeller Shoreline, which I've talked about, we're adding on to those rocks to the west. We're working with the Corps on that, and that's protecting that area. This is a huge project in Iberia, Vermilion, and St. Mary flood risk reduction. As you know, they don't call them levees anymore. They call them flood risk reduction. But it's levee. It'll always be levees to me,
Right.
Tony.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
And this has floodgates in it. It's got a couple of big floodgates. It's got water control structures. They have no protection in Vermilion, Iberia, and a lot of St. Mary. So this is probably $350 million
that blows
project,
my
$400
mind.
million.
Yeah.
That blows my mind.
No protection.
Yeah.
And then the next slides are just Iberia projects, beginning design, and just the next ones are just different projects in Iberia. In Little Valley, Bayou, Run-Reel, and Stumpy Bayou, and it's just projects in that area. That's and this is and then the next one that one is Jefferson Canal South, and that's actually completed right there.
Wow, what a presentation.
And,
So there's a lot to look forward to.
And more,
Like
that's
going
the
on.
major projects. And remember, a lot of these projects, I wouldn't be showing them to you right now if we didn't pick up that $3.3 billion in that mid-Barataria diversion money. The PP money was meant for a larger percentage of the parishes, only coastal. You can't use it on levees, okay? Right. You can't use it on pump station, but we can use Go Mesa on that. Mm-hmm. So if you're doing these projects with the oil spill money, you free up Go Mesa, which is $200 million a year. Every 5 years is $1 billion now, because the big beautiful bill that Donald Trump passed, and in our delegation, and my hats off to the speaker and our senators and Steve Scalise and Kennedy Cassidy and Congressman Ludlow and of course Speaker Johnson, and we're moving forward with our coastal issues thanks to our congressional delegation.
But the whole time y'all talking about this, I'm just thinking beyond that. I'm thinking of all the levee work that's going on and all the workers that are going to be going to the restaurants and the car dealers and using the services, hate to say that, at the hospitals. And then to me, the economic impact of this, it's almost a boom in itself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if the oil and gas sort of tags along with it, we could be seeing a surge and all kind of things.
Yeah. And I think this last year, we picked up an additional $50 million in Go Mesa.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, with the big, beautiful bill.
The 650. Right.
And for 12 years.
Yeah.
And also I want to say we just got awarded $122 million in what they call Restore Act grant from the BP spill, which is an environmental grant, and that's for Calcasieu Lake. Yeah. We have about $250 million in Calcasieu Lake, which is all the way to our west, that we've been having under construction. And it's moving along, but that was a grant we were waiting on. It's actually the same Restore restore fund that Boganza received the money for the lock system, which was $165 million, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank y'all for coming on board. Thank y'all for continuing. Once again, let the public know that Louisiana and Beyond, which is a show Lonnie Thibodeau and I will be hosting on the whole coastline, will be starting soon, and everybody in every parish will be able to watch it. Now, that's going to be important because sometimes the good news gets buried with the bad news because everybody wants sensationalism, but the good news overshadows this by so much.
Yeah.
And more in closing, and then I know Coach Tony could want to close, but you know the direction when I got to CPRA and of course the governor appointed me chairman and the Senate ratified me the same way with Tony, and you know the one thing me, the governor, and Tony we've talked about is doing projects. Every weekend I send Jeff projects. You know, Jeff Landry, the governor, is on board, and he's familiar with every project going on in Louisiana. He's really got a hands-on everything, and I mean, I can't be any more happy to make sure he knows what we're doing every step of the way. And he's, you know, right now we're faced with this saltwater wedge. You know, they got to build it again. So if they build that again, which they started, the Corps started because the salt water is migrating up the river, you couldn't run the Barataria diversion if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. So it shuts it down. I mean, you know, and no one in the past looked at this saltwater wedge as ever being a problem. Well, we immediately saw that. Actually, the governor was the first one to point it out. Governor Jeff Landry, he said, I want every study I can get my hands on what is that saltwater wedge going to do to this diversion. This is way back in a year and a half ago when we were looking. And, you know, when we looked at that more, and the governor wanted facts, figures, and backup. And that's what me and Jules Hebert and Angelique Frio and Glenn Leday, and later, you know, Mike Hare came along as executive director, and Glenn Leday was now the DOT chairman, secretary, but he was the executive director at the time. And we put together facts, figures, everything we have on a reason to terminate it with facts, figures, and backup by engineers, CPAs, consultants, et cetera. And that's where we came to the conclusion to terminate it. And I knew that made a lot of headlines, but it was definitely, it was the only thing to do. It wasn't the right thing to do. It was the only thing you could do.
Tony?
Yep. A lot of great opportunities right now. You know, you always hear this out there in the public. Well, you know, this diversion was based on science. Well, you know, the science that comes out of the equation depends on what you put in. Mm-hmm. And so with these projects that we're talking about, and again, they weren't invented by Gordy or Tony or anybody else or the government. These projects were in the 50-year plan. And these projects are going to stop the bleeding. All the land that's falling apart, it's going to stop a lot of that. In addition, you know, to putting another line of defense and having that marsh grow and recreate. So we've got some great things going on, some great opportunities. We want everybody to be behind it, and you know, that's why we're putting this program together, right? Mm-hmm. This next program, so that we can educate the public. And the public can probably at some point call in and ask questions, but know the realities, the science, the engineering, and what's taking place and why we're making these decisions. It's not political. It's based on the best impact that we can make on the coast, and we're running out of time if we don't implement some of these projects on the coast. And so we're excited about it, and we hope you are too.
Yeah.
And you know, more, and I made a comment when we started the show that this will save the coast. I will back that comment up all day long, and I believe Tony will too. If we don't build this land bridge in Barry Islands and then you know, east and west of the river, and then further to the south, to the west, you will, you know, we won't be able to catch up the coast. This is our one chance that where we have this much money at this time to save the coast, and that's what this is going to do. This will save the coast. Building a diversion 80 miles away is not going to do us any good. I don't know where anybody kept saying that was, you know, their main thing. They said that was the big program for the Coastal Master Plan. That was the cornerstone. I was trying to look for the word. That's not the cornerstone. That was the cornerstone of a small little piece of it. This is the cornerstone we're doing. here, Vermilion Parish, and all the way out to Holly Beach and to Calcasieu Lake. That's the cornerstone of every parish has their own cornerstone. You heard what Tony said about the lock system. It's the cornerstone of Terrebonne Parish's Boganza system, and which it is. I mean, but there's another 10 floodgates in there we didn't even talk about that's already finished and is old news. But guess what? They protect you every day.
Are you willing to change the word from cornerstone to corner rock?
Yes, that's that word.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Martin.
We appreciate it. Thank y'all for your time.
Thanks, Martin.
All right, there you have it. A good outlook on the system that they're working on. And we'll be back with a lot more on series that we designed to educate you right here at HTV. Have a good day.